Welcome to Jesus Talks. We pray that this podcast would encourage and provoke you to be just like Jesus in every area of your life. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hello and welcome back to Jesus Talks podcast, where we invite you into our conversations about Jesus. We are here with another week. We're actually starting a new topic this week and have invited one of our good friends, Katie Braswell, to come in and speak with us. She's very passionate on a lot of subjects, but this one in particular has really, the Lord's really been working on her heart as far as here lately with Gen Z and millennials, and who's going to pass the torch, who's going to take the torch, are we leading well? So we're going to dive into all those topics, as well as what does Gen Z culture look like? How are they viewing the world? How do they worship? What does Gen Z led church look like? So Katie, welcome. Shane and I are excited to have you here. Where do you want to start?
Well, thank you guys for having me again. It's good to be back, friends here. I honor both of you and just proud of where you guys are headed and what you're doing for the Lord, in the Lord, and with the Lord. Tonight, like he said, Gen Z, I was struck during the Send. We did not get to go this year, sad. But we watched online, and there was a statistic thrown out that I have not been able to shake, and we're going to talk about it tonight, that Gen Z as a population is going to be historically the largest population on the earth in history. And there's an alarming statistic when we look at the church where they stand biblically and in the faith of Christianity. So we desperately need to have a plan moving forward if we're going to pass the baton in our faith. Because now that we have, all three of us have children, my daughters after Gen Z are considered Generation Alpha. And yeah, we are looking at a post-Christian America, should we not pass our faith on. So that's what I'd love to talk about tonight, is what their worldviews are and what we could do to reach this next generation, because it looks so different than what we have done.
So chances are what we're probably going to do is probably going to be broken down into two parts, just because there's a lot of information. If we can fit it all into one, we will. I don't think that's going to happen, but so what will probably happen is, if it winds up on we were talking about it before, maybe a downer, there is redemption in the second part. So we're going to just go over some statistics, go over some facts about what's going on with Gen Z, and maybe that you weren't aware of, and maybe some prayer points as well. So, all right.
Yeah, let's start off with some of the natural facts looking at Gen Z, and then we can close with spiritual truth, because we know that natural facts might not mean truth. And this is what I am seeing when I look into Gen Z. So just to blanket, first of all, you might be listening and saying, why does she keep saying Gen Z? Gen Z are people born between 1999-ish to 2015. So we're talking about 9-year-olds to 25-year-olds. They make up 26% of the global population, which is 69 million people. Historically, like I said a moment earlier, this is going to be the largest generation thus far to ever walk the planet. So just to scaffold down to what really matters for us, let's talk about America and what Gen Z looks like here in America. The population just in our country is 12.8 million. It is 20% of the American population. They are the first digitally native generation. Some have little, if not any, remembrance of life outside of a smartphone. So with that knowledge, we know rapid response is all they know.
Sure.
Information overload, give it to me now. Very quick response. Waiting is probably, patience is probably not a strong characteristic of this generation. They can get they're innovative, they're creative, they can get what they need as soon as they want it. Information's always been there. Relationships are always available, everything. They're the most well-educated generation to come. 57% are going to college, or at least have one parent in the home that has a college education. They are the most racially and ethnically diverse age group in the U.S. 52% of Gen Z is Caucasian, and by 2026, the U.S. Census Bureau projects that the majority will be non-white. 22% have at least one immigrant parent.
That's wild.
That is very wild. This is just, we're getting a world view of what it's going to take to reach this demographic and this age group. 1 in 4 are Hispanic. And just to show the growth as millennials, which is our generation, it was 17% Hispanic. And in one generation, that bumped up 8%. Wow. So their strongest 2 values are freedom to express thought, which is why they are the front runners of the gender identity movement, and they demand diversity. What I was researching stated that they demand diversity over a competitive salary. That's how important it is to them when they look on a workforce, that they see representation before they even look at how much they're going to be offered to get paid.
Now, where do you think that comes from?
Well, if we have 1 in 4 Hispanic,
that's true. Yeah.
We're just seeing a whole different dynamic of this generation. They're majority minority. So coming into an environment that doesn't have a little representation of themselves, they don't feel welcome, don't feel safe, anything like that. So it's important as we move forward just to keep these 2 values in mind, because everything stems back to it, in my opinion. As I was looking at the data, and just to share, I had to look at this through the lens as an educator as well. This was very important to me as I'm, in K through 5 education. I could not ignore, like, these are my kids. You know?
Yeah.
And I've also taught in middle school. Those are my children. And it makes sense to me sometimes when I was reading these values. I'm like, okay, I now see why they would argue with curriculum. Because it's like, but my thoughts are.
Right.
I think this way. So boundaries, they're going to challenge. So there are, after looking at all this data, I found 4 predicaments that we could narrow down that we've got to, as a church body, as the body of Christ, we've got to find a way into these areas. We all need a plan as leaders in the church to place territory, to place presence in these 4 areas. Anything y'all have in your mind so far before we jump into them?
Now, I was just thinking about, and it just random, but you're talking about how the patience, the rapid response, and who is the leading force behind TikTok right now is Gen Z. They have several videos that are like, for the older crowd on TikTok that were born in the and then people are like, wait, hold on.
That's me.
The early 2000s, it's like, holy. So, they're the ones that are leading. And in fact, TikTok is the platform for creativity right now. So it walks hand in hand that, that creative side, that free thought side, and that rapid response. You can just, go to the next video. It's amazing to see those stats line up with real world platforms, I guess.
Have y'all watched a YouTube video with a teenager?
No, with my 9-year-old though.
They can't just watch. There is no watching the YouTube video straight from the beginning to the end.
Nope. Next, it's boring.
And they can, drag the clip where they want to get to the point. So that looks so different from us. That wasn't an option. I think of my teenage. So just to put it in perspective, me and a teenager, no social media platform had been developed yet.
All right.
Smartphones I did not have. Now it might have been available, but my parents said no. So I'm like, in order for me to have watched a video, I had to leave the family and go sit in another room on the computer.
Yeah.
Gateway.
Yeah. In order to watch a video, my household, again, my brother and I neither had a TV in our bedrooms. We had a game room because my brother was a gamer.
Yeah.
And he could go spend hours on the PlayStation, but that wasn't me. So in order for me to watch TV, it was in the living room with parents. That was just, there was no submersion or isolation in going and sitting and being away and watching what you want to.
Right.
So that plays into where we're about to go with this social media, what I would like to call number 1, social media setback is what I think it's such a counterfeit of relationships, because when you look at these stats, you're going to be like, wait a minute, for someone who's so enveloped and like just involved in it, how are they feeling this way? 71% of teens spend more than 3 hours watching videos a day.
I feel like that has to be conservative.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then I'm thinking,
Shane's like, I've got that beat.
Well, I'm thinking, how is it, and maybe again, I have a whole different viewpoint. How do you go to school from 8 to 3 and then get home and are allowed to do that?
These parents out here are crazy, man.
It's a different dynamic, you know? And so for a Gen Zer who might be listening, is this the hours of the night? Like, are you on your phone between 10 and 2?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Or are you missing out on family between 3 and 7? Watch, like, where is this happening?
Well, you got to understand too, a lot of these guys are being raised by millennials who were the first internet, you know, I mean, as far as the generation that, you know, was introduced to the internet, AOL, you've got mail, you know, like, they were the ones that first explored this and, you know, have grown up with it, as opposed to actually born into it like these guys. So the dynamic has changed from our parents, millennials' parents, to now Gen Z having millennials as parents. So, yeah.
So 60% of them check YouTube once a day. Instagram is the most used platform. And this is interesting. So the data that I was coming from was Barna. So anyone who might be listening thinking, where did she get her statistics? This is all from Barna. And TikTok was created in 2016. They reported Instagram as the most used social platform of 2019. So I'm wondering, there's probably some data missing.
Yeah, I think TikTok's taken over now.
Yeah, so in 2 years, I would believe that as well. 64% of Gen Z check Instagram daily. 51% check Snapchat daily. They prefer, this one I would love to hear what you guys think. They prefer messaging over face-to-face encounters. Why would you think, what would be your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think most millennials are that way too. You know what I mean? As far as like, don't call me, you know, send me a text. Yeah. Or, you know, don't just show up in my house, man.
Okay,
like,
I am with that one, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait, hey.
So, you don't know what's going on in here. I don't know. Why? What's your thought on that?
My thoughts, tone gets removed when you're reading something. Facial expression is removed. Gestures are removed. Even like when you're in a conversation face-to-face, pauses. Like when someone's thinking their thoughts out, that's removed because it's a rapid response. So any amount of waiting when you're, and I would think because of that, there's no filter on your thoughts either. You're it's all, you know, robotic almost of whatever I think I'm going to put there, and then we'll handle it afterwards. Versus if you're in person, you're a little bit more reserved on what you're going to say because you don't want to see what their face looks like afterward.
Not only that, there's no need to focus in on the conversation. I can be doing 1,000 things.
That's true.
Get the text message, hit a little reply, and go back to doing whatever I'm doing. So there's never that engagement of one-on-one, eye contact, like you were saying, seeing the emotion behind what you're saying. Because how many times have we read a message, maybe you're angry in the moment, they send something very emotional or just it's just bland, but because you're angry, you're putting your tone on it, and you're like, oh, they're being mean to me. It's like, no, I was just saying hey, and then you saying it's like hey, and it's like, what? No, I'm just
why
saying,
are you saying it like that?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this like you were saying, the tone is kind of a detriment on their part because they're not hearing the emotion behind it. They're not seeing the eye contact, the facial expressions, the demeanor, and they're losing the way of how to be in a relationship with people.
Right. I agree with that. And when you're in a message, have y'all ever been in a group chat or something and someone's like celebrating this and then someone drops in here like, hey, can y'all pray? This is very hard for me right now. So we're like rejoicing, and then all of a sudden, bam, here comes this very deep thought. Yeah. That doesn't happen when you're in a regular conversation because like you're saying, all of the circumstances around are not surrounding you because you're focused on, hey, I'm sitting on your couch.
Right.
I'm paying attention to you. We're listening to one another, and my mind's not over in left field. So I agree with you. I've even on Instagram where someone's constantly sending me, clips of this emotion, and then all of a sudden here comes this, and so I'm laughing with her, and then the next post it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
now I've got to shift gears.
Right.
That was hard.
I feel like the art of the kitchen table, conversation has been lost. But we have several Gen Z kids that come here on Sunday nights to our Bible study service, and man, they love it. They're totally engaged. They are 100% focused. And I don't know if it's because it's different from what they're used to. Or it's just something they're passionate about or whatever, but I don't ever see them, like, oh, this is boring, like, when's this guy going to shut up? No, they're like engaged and they're ready to answer and they're ready to, ask questions. And so. Well,
that's all interesting. That's what I wanted to hear from you guys, what you thought of that.
Yeah, I had a thing recently where there was a problem presented to me through text message. And, so I told my wife, I said, let me just call this guy. And let's go ahead and just figure this out instead of trying to. He texts, I call, and does not answer.
Yeah. You were such a millennial.
And I'm like, let's get this figured out. So I don't know if there's this fear of conflict, but like you said, it's like, they used to call it liquid courage. If you that you just have this courage if you were under the influence, but there's like this courage behind the keyboard where I can say anything I want and there's no repercussions and I don't have to hear it. But then it's like a phone call, it's like,
oh, now I have to hear how you think about it.
Right. Yeah. And then I have to actually engage.
There's immediate repercussions.
Exactly.
Or responses.
I don't get to Google what to say next.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what generation thinks it's best to do FaceTime. Y'all have those people too? You're texting and they FaceTime.
Old people. That's what actually, I do. I do FaceTime a lot too.
I'm texting somebody and then wait a minute.
Hold on, man.
Oh, so interestingly enough, despite being part of the most connected generation, because they are the most connected generation, 50% report that they are anxious and lonely. In 2019, 1 in 7 teens were reported to be taking prescription drugs due to some type of disorder. So I would question, is social media a meaningful connection for this generation? And something, I didn't write this down to talk about, but something I recalled while I was looking out, pages and accounts that Gen Z are following. The top 2 are celebrities and meme accounts.
Oh, wow.
So that is no relationship there.
No.
If all you're following are people that do not know you, you're liking someone else's lifestyle that's never going to engage with you.
Yeah.
You're just submerged in, I want what they have, and they're going to die and leave this earth and never care who you were because they don't know.
Right.
And then you might love this meme and it's making you laugh and you feel joy from it or whatever, but that's dead too. We don't even know who wrote it. So that's different than my following account. I don't follow celebrities like that. Like, I would much rather see what is going on in people's lives that
Absolutely.
I know. But I did not know. That was intriguing to me because I did not know that there are people who really are not paying attention to anybody in their community.
I think I saw this, and I'm on TikTok. I enjoy it thoroughly, actually, because the person, and everyone has their opinions about it. I get it. I was slow to get on. But the reason why I really enjoy it is because of one of the guys that are on it came on and was like, the reason why TikTok is so popular is because it puts an emphasis on people's thoughts. It feels like you're really getting to know the person who's speaking. I know that sounds whatever, but as opposed to it being like a quick reel, you know what I mean? Or something, people get on and they actually share their thoughts and their minds and their emotions and, what's going on in their life on a daily basis. It's interesting to watch. And whatever niche you're into, whatever you enjoy listening to or learning about, you can find that there and find someone that relates to you on that. and it's becoming super popular. Listen, I agree that it is a counterfeit, but it's funny that they're finding it through a screen easier than they are doing it in real life.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put a solution on this one to see what the church's response needs to be with this social media, because if 98% of Gen Z has a phone, we've got to be involved online. So the church has got to have a presence online. The body of Christ, pastors, whatever role you have, but we cannot remove ourselves from that. In order for us to reach Gen Z, we have got to have a presence specifically on social media. The church has to have a diverse staff. If the staff is predominantly white, Gen Z is just going to overlook them and consider them out of touch with today.
Wow.
Again, in 2026, like 2 years from now, a minority is going to be majority. So they're going to be looking for that and at that. I would even suggest being bilingual and offering bilingual like opportunities and resources is going to attract Gen Z. 1 in 4 are Hispanic. Let's learn Spanish.
Yeah.
Let's offer Spanish. Let's do something for that culture. If 1 in 4, like that, we have to shift.
Yeah.
And we have got to youth pastors at this moment. My suggestion, whatever you're doing on Wednesday nights needs to also have a presence online. However you want to chop it up. However you want to, because it says that Gen Z's attention span is 8 seconds. Find a way to chop up your message in 8 seconds. So I would do something like, what is the takeaway you want your kids to go home with? That one sentence should be a video. Like that is what I would do for Gen Z right now, is like they just have to have some component online to take it and build with that. But that's what I think with social media. It's not going away. It's important to them, and we just have to find a way to use it as a tool.
That's really good. I'm thinking about the implications, or the how to actually apply that. I should say applications. How to apply that, and that's really good. That's really good.
And a lot of people, I'm sure you're listening to this, especially if you're in ministry. Like some of you are like, well, I don't want to have to do that. Like
right.
they just
It's
need to come to
double
church.
work.
Yeah. But let me say this. It's uncomfortable to go out on the streets and witness. So just because it's uncomfortable and it's something you're not used to, like this is the world we're living in.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as the message hasn't changed, man, we'll do whatever we can to reach these people, because, hey, you're not going to find them on the streets. They're in their rooms, on a tablet, on a phone. They're not coming out, those days of just seeing kids in the backyard playing together, the whole neighborhood like that. That's a rare thing. I don't ever see it. Like, you're going to have to meet them where they are. And right now where they are is on their phones, the tablets, the television. So we got to find a way to engage with them.
Well, and unfortunately, the pandemic kind of concreted that, right? More than ever. If they couldn't go outside and play with other friends, they were doing everything online. Not only that, we have the metaverse that is just, in the infant stages of, getting started, where you can meet online and see each other. So, all right, so we're going to call that a wrap on the first part. Catch us on the second part. We're going to go over a few more points and offer some solutions. I hope this has blessed you in some way.